Shout out to my ADD crew. Shout out, peoples. Shout out. And I want to give a one shout out to Danny Martin, aka Birdman. Thank you, Birdman. He hit me up on Instagram and said he was sorry about hearing about Zach, about my son, and so he was gonna back off. That he was sorry for that, etc., etc. I don't remember word for word, but that he was sorry for that and he would back off for now. I respect you for that, Danny. I really do. That's some straight up on my level man shit, right? I gotta give him props for that. You know, I'm as guilty, maybe some could say, and I could even say to myself, I'm partially more guilty than he is. I started it, okay? So I live with that. You know, so that's all I can say on that is, you know, I bring that upon myself. So I harbor no hate or no anger towards him. And he said he was going to take down some videos, and at least I guess for now, shout out. That's way cool. You know, I don't care either way, but you know, it says something. I give you a shout out, Birdman, for that. You know, that was coming straight up. Nothing I can say bad to that. You know, I admire and I honor that type of shit. You know, a lot of people don't hold their word to stay in time, say what they mean and mean what they say. But he did one hundo on that, so props for that. So where we left off last time was Zach and his chaotic mess. Shout out to you, Zach. Zach, don't be butthurt. There again, these are dumb things we did. I'm not singling you out. You just happen to have had a kick-ass life and kick-ass stories, so I'm not picking on you. I'm just telling what went down and how it was. If this is interesting to a lot of people. So, there again, we lived in chaotic times and days, and I have to look in the mirror and say that, you know, I bring a lot of that upon myself. I didn't bring the part with Zach, you know, lashing out at me and all that. You know, could have happened to anyone. You know, bygones should have been bygones. So we're gonna let it be at that. So I still got nothing but love for you, Zach. So just don't get hurt that I'm talking about this stuff. It was some of Zach's doings, and more so his friends. Some of his friends were, you know, as bad an influences as he and I were. You know, I was a bad influence. You know, and I have to live with that. To look in the mirror. You know, deal with myself. But thank God, as I thought, and as most people, well, I guess, I don't know how many people know or know this, or don't know this or not, but statistically, kids that came from harder backgrounds, they succeeded. I can show you a lot of instances and stories where the guy had a terrible upbringing, a hard life, poor, family violence, drugs, and they succeeded and wound up being miraculous people. Jay Williams is one of them. So I'm thinking that, you know, the boys had a good and bad. You know, I may have been on drugs and stuff, but I wasn't, you know, a bona fide junkie for 30 years by any means. I just did drugs. I was, you know, a junkie for 2 or 3 years, okay? So my boys were already raised by the time I had done my first bump of heroin. My boys were already 15, 16, okay? So by the time I was really strung out, they were 19, 20, okay? So they were not babies. They were on their own and had left home by then, on their own choices. Well, Zach knows. I had to make Zach leave when he turned 18. But then again, thank the good Lord, things came, push come to shove, and I didn't have to, as I explained. He got himself kicked out of the place we were at. We were in Sandy Springs, gangland. For those of you that are new to this, I lived in a spot of town in Sandy Springs, Georgia, that is officially labeled gangland, right? My younger son Colin came to me one day and showed me this thing. He said, look, Dad, was this episode calling it Gangland, and they were showing the street that we lived on. So just some crazy shit. So it really, like I said, it really was considered gangland, and living there were perilous times. It was during the height of my addiction. So Zach was getting terrible in these times and rebelling more and more. And like I said, no exaggeration a bit. This kid, Zach, my son, was getting the police called on him. He was into everything. Zach, you're more than willing to say what you want to say. You can come on here, comment, whatever. Zach was in, and he's grown now and he's changed. But he was a horrible person at one time. You got to own up to that, Zach. I'm going to tell the truth. I was a junkie at one time. I'm not putting you down and putting myself up on a pedestal, so don't get it twisted. So, Zach, take this with a grain of salt. One of my good girlfriends, Nikki, we're on Facebook when I told him that Zach had cancer, and she's going to send him money. So, Zach, by telling your story and all that, it's not all bad. Could be beneficial. You never know who's listening and hearing. It may make a star out of the both of us. You never know. Anyways, so during this time, Zach was way out there, right? And you knew where so for those of you who've seen enough videos, I actually did videos and show you where I lived at the time. I lived like 2 or 3 places, apartments, over from the end of the street. At the end of the street is the street I live on that goes to Publix, and across intersection another road. That other road, I showed pictures. There used to be a shopping center there and everything in it, right? And they remodeled it and turned it into, now I think it's where you store stuff at, right? And like I said, you can see the video. So it's diagonally across from the house. You can see this. What used in the day we were living there was a parking lot, a huge long strip mall with a parking lot, and in the parking lot had a small playground for kids. And there was this long stretch of stores, all Mexican. And Zach was back there sleeping one day, and this is the second time he was back there sleeping one day. Police woke him up, told him move it along, and then they did it a second time. And keep in mind, at this time, Zach had just turned 18, and I had to kick him out. I kicked him out one night. I had to. Like I said, he was fighting me, physically fighting me. He was mentally deranged at the time. He took a crock pot and he busted on my kitchen floor. I mean, he was beyond. One of us was going to go to jail, or both of us, and so I had to ask him to leave. So he wouldn't. So one night he sneaks. Colin lets him in, and like I said, he had busted my crock pot. He had swung fists on me. I'm not going to get into all that he did. A lot of bad shit. Okay, so it was definite grounds for having to ask him to leave. So he leaves, and he comes back. Colin lets him in, and he comes in. He's piss-ass drunk, and he's passed out on the couch. I say, "Oh no, you got to go." Like I said, he had just smashed the crock pot and all that, and just throwing his fists up, wanting a fist fight. I mean, he was unmanageable. It was a guarantee that I was going to go to jail. He was making that unpleasant for himself and me. So I had to ask him to leave. So he comes back in drunk one night, and I say, "No, you got to go." "Sorry." I said, "No, you're gone. You pulled all this whoopie-woo shit on me. No, you're gone." So he wouldn't leave. So I called the police, and they came in, and I had to let him in. And when I got him, and they got him to his feet, and it's making him leave. And he says shit to the police. If you get mad, you get mad, Zach. People are going to find out the truth. I'm telling people good, bad, and different.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Bannister Road.
This is the midst of my addiction, too, now. I have to let police in. Police come in. get him to his feet. He's wobbling out, and he starts telling the police about heroin. My jaw about dropped, right? There ain't shit they can do.
Turn left onto Bannister
But
Road, then turn left onto
he's not
Elmo
going
Road.
without a fight. So, after, having it out, showing his ass drunk, oblivious drunk and stupid in front of the police, they make him leave. This is a big, huge ordeal. You know what I'm saying? Cop lights, cops out in front of my street, cops, in the road where cars can't go past type shit, right? And making a scene, as always. And so they make him leave. And he goes across the
Take
street.
the next left onto Elmo Road.
Diagonally, like I said, diagonally across the street and down the street.
Continue on Elmo Road for 3/4 of a mile.
Within
Continue
seeing
on
range.
Bannister Road for 1.5 miles.
Sorry, I'm on my job. Within seeing range, you can see from my front porch to the parking lot. Then is basically what I'm saying. Okay, so where's now's a building, but was a parking lot. He's back there sleeping for a second time now. Cop, so he goes back. I don't know if this is the first. I don't remember if it's the first or second time. It was 2 times, like I said. Once the police asked him politely to get out of there, and he got up and he left. And the second time, the police came, and what do you think happened? Yes, of course, I wouldn't be telling you. Gets up, goes throwing the fists and cuffs with the police, goes swinging on the police. This got him kicked out of Sandy Springs. This got him barred to where, like I said, it was out of my hands at that point. And so Zach had a lot of learning and living and growing up to do. He's done it. This is 5+ years ago now. Maybe, 5 to 6-ish years ago, something like that. So he's done a lot of maturing and growing. But like I said, when I say we've been through hell, we've been through hell.
In a 1/4 mile, turn left onto Mockingbird Road.
They came and officially served papers and told him, you can't be in Sandy Springs anymore. You get caught even walking down the street, you're going to jail. So he had to go to Atlanta and started over there. And, so he was on the street for 2 years. And I feel bad and horrible about it. But, I think
Take the next left onto Mockingbird Road.
there were lessons that he needed to learn that I couldn't teach him anymore. He had to find out, the cold hard reality of the world. The boys didn't have to find out on their own. Colin's the same. Colin showed his ass. Went to talking that stupid shit. And I haven't done any hard drugs in almost 3
Continue
years
on
now,
Mockingbird
okay?
Road for 1.5
Colin went
miles.
to run his mouth. My landlord was over one day. Collins had to go stay with his brother now for that one. We asked him to leave, and he showed his ass. Our landlord was over. He's throwing shit around, acting stupid. So we kicked him out, and we bring him back the same night. But we let him think. He showed his ass. He talked shit, just telling the cops that I'd done heroin. I mean, and haven't done anything in 3 years. So that's some below the belt shit. So when I say I've been through hell all kind of levels. People calling the police on me having to call the police myself. It's been one shit show after another. So I've seen all kind of fucked up ordeals over the years. I've seen people do all kind of crazy shit for drugs and for money. We used to know this. So I'm old enough now, okay, to where, and sorry, I'm trying to think about getting to this job at the time. I'm old enough to where back in my day, I was around way before they came out with any of this camera and sensors and all that shit. You smell walking out of Home Depot. I knew guys, I didn't do it that much, did a little, but I knew guys that lived, survived, paid bills and their addiction off of stealing from Home Depot every single day, all the way up until 3 years ago when I quit. All the way up until then, and probably still now. I knew this guy, Justin, that would, and why we would never know,
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Elmo Road.
This guy knew how to do plumbing. He was a licensed plumber, but he loved the thrill of stealing, and he get the high off it. My boy Deezy would tell him, "I need a framing gun, airless battery-packed framing gun.
Take the next left
a
onto
trim
Elmo
gun,
Road, then turn right on the
battery
bridge, Fair
packed.
Road."
And something else. Said those 3 items. I need those. This was at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning when I was over at his house, and we was talking on the phone with him. It was one of those days when we went to work on that job.
Take the next right onto Bridge, Fair Road.
And by 2:30, we're meeting this kid, and he's got what Deezy's asked him for. I'm only going back 3 years ago now, okay? Three and a half years ago. They had sensors and all that shit. Still, how this kid did this is, I don't know. Still to the day, like I say, even 3 years ago, come and go into jail. One of those guys that Home Depot, has him tagged. See what I'm saying? There are people that steal so much, and Home Depots, they keep tabs on these people. He's one of those dudes that's like not allowed in Home Depots and shit. But somehow he's pulling off. Like I said, I'm only going back 3 years ago. Way back in my day, you should have seen what these dudes were stealing. 20 plus years ago, I used to watch Mad Transitions. Dudes were walking out of Home Depot, and we'd be meeting them to get a few items. I watched this guy come out of Home Depot.
Sharp left onto Bannister Road.
I watched this guy come out of Home Depot before with one of those flat carts. You know, everybody knows what a flat cart is, right? With an air compressor, this, that, and the third. No little shit. All, like I said, stuff that had to be big enough to be on
Continue on Bannister Road for 1.5 miles.
All shit that had to go on a, whatchamacallit, had to go on a dolly. This guy's rolling dolly shit out this car. We watched some way level next thievery, debauchery shit. I've seen all kind of crazy, mad shit over the years. Mainly when I was in addiction, and mainly when I was... A lot of the time, it wasn't even when I was in addiction. It was when I'd be at work. I worked for these guys, and there was these network of roofers, okay? This is how I met these guys. So I met Mike Johnson, a couple of other guys, big roofer dudes. They used to all know this one guy, M. Fuck it. Name's Emerson. Huge drug dealer. Major. I mean, dude had, mass quantities of everything. Mainly speed and coke. I remember me and my wife were in the middle of a shenanigan deal when we first got together. We were dealing with defects, and this is when her ex-husband told my bit Zach on the ear to where I had to pee in a cup. I couldn't be around the boys for a month because this guy did this dirtbag shit. But in those days,
in a quarter mile, turn left onto Mockingbird Road.
Is when this dude M was on and popping, right? He'd been to prison. He's a story. He's a whole story on his own. Okay, this guy was a mass drug dealer, roofer, and so when you got drug dealing, roofing, and
Take the next left onto Mockingbird Road.
He's one of those guys that's into everything, right? Literally everything. He's the guy that said that ripped off the 2 old ladies. He gave them a clunker car and a small bit of money, and
continue on Mockingbird Road for 1.5 miles.
In exchange for this antique furniture, he ripped these 2 old women off that lived by me at one time. He did all kinds of dirtbag shit. I was with him 3 different times when he was stealing a vehicle. I watched him steal cars. And this dude had stolen cars at his house. You could get a car, and he was, like I said, he was literally into everything. And he would do that word, everything. He had a fake insurance company. You see, like police would call and shit, and his girlfriend would pick up the phone, pretend to be yada yada yada. He had, 50, 100 different schemes with people, with fake insurance fraud, all kind of shit. bad checks, credit cards, you name it, stolen cars, jewelry, merchandise, drugs, people, you name it, he was into it. Well, he was also one of these switch hitters on the side. He took in the dookie box on the side. He was way out there, so I needed his help at one time when I got in trouble. So I stayed with him. Actually lived at his house for a couple of weeks, a month. The time that I couldn't be around the boys, and me and my wife were split apart at that time. We were going through some shit, and legally, that was the time that I broke the kitchen table, showed my ass, and they took me to jail and said cruelty to children just because the boys were infants, they were babies. They were in their bedrooms asleep. Me and my wife get in an argument, and it turns to hot and heavy, and I'm not going to discuss what, because we're beyond that, but know that I had good cause for coming unglued at the time.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Elmo Road.
I bust the kitchen table, and she calls her mom, and her mom calls the police, and I got a gun, and they tell I have a gun in my possession. I'm not having the gun, but I get the gun and I put it up, and so my wife tells
next left onto Elmo Road,
her mommy's got a gun.
Onto Bridge, Fair Road.
And so they say that. So they come in deep on my ass, right? And like I said, I got bullshit charges for that. Cruelty of children, because they were in the house, me and my wife having an argument. She punched me in the face 5 times.
Continue on Elmo Road for 1 mile.
Before I broke the kitchen table, she punched me in the face several times. So we'll do that. That's it. That's it on that. So they, because of that, when her ex-husband called and said I bit Zach on the ear because I already had a case going, that shut me down. If I didn't have that, wasn't dealing with those charges or nothing, they wouldn't have had a pot to piss in. But because of that, they had me by the balls, and I couldn't see Colin for a month. I literally had to go dry out, and all I was doing at the time was smoking weed, maybe snorting a little cocaine every now and then. This was over 20 years ago. I wasn't even into pills yet. I hadn't even done a Roxy, I don't think, yet. Okay? That doesn't happen for another year or two after this. Something like that. Yeah. So, yeah, we've been through the ringer.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Mount Tabor Road.
And I watched dudes slinging, stealing, thriving, conniving. Like I said, that dude, I lived with him for a couple of weeks to a month, and he was into everything. I mean, there was no sleeping all night. People coming and go type shit. He was friends with that other...
Next left onto Mount Tabor Road.
He was friends with that other gigantic drug dealer I was talking about that lived a couple houses down from that dude, Mike. They were cahoots with each other, come to find out. This guy was known, and this guy had friends across many counties, right? He was like the first or second drug dealer in Cobb County for meth in those days. That's how large this guy was, right? So it was scary just being in his house.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Harris Drive.
He was bisexual. He had this too young for him girlfriend. She was futzing around on him. He's banging this other dude. This other dude's a Chimney guy, right? Oh, I forgot all about this one. He's banging this...
Take the next left onto Harris Drive.
This Chimney guy's married, and his name's Emerson, and Emerson's got a girlfriend, almost kind of marriage. The Chimney guy, his wife is cheating on him with Emerson's best friend. Got that? So, as soon as he leaves for work, this other guy, and I can't remember his name, Mustache Man, as soon as this guy leaves for work, this guy comes over. The Chimney guy will come home, and this guy will still be there, and he won't leave until Chimney guy gets home. Like it's in your face type shit. Fucking bat crazy shit, right? I sat and watched all that kind of shit going on. Chimney guy over there crying, boo-hoo, my wife's... And then he'd go home, and then his buddy will come, so Mustache Man will be telling us about digging his wife out and all that, yada yada. Melrose place for country drug people is all I could say. Melrose place for that kind of shit, right? It was a
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Kelly
it was
Bridge
a
Road.
circus like that, come and go all the time. It was just a complete circus, like I said. And that they weren't the other one only. There was a meth couple that were swingers, and there was a older guy that was a painter, like an actual real painter, come over and painted this mural.
Take the next left onto Kelly
He had
Bridge
this real
Road.
nice long screened-in porch, right? Had a pool table out there. He had this guy out there that came out there and painted him murals all over it. It was bad as shit. It looked like it was outside even during the day.
Continue
right?
on Kelly Bridge Road for 1
Colored
mile.
and done stars and the whole nine, and you know, had badass sceneries in it and shit. And no telling how much the guy was. You know, he was on the clock. You know, the whole couple of weeks that he was there, that he was working on this thing. And so they were hotsy-potsy together. So like I said, this guy was bi, and I'm more lean to say he was just straight gay, but he was a real weirdo. He had his 8-year-old son sleeping in the bed with him, both of them naked. Yeah, he was a real weirdo. So if you know my stories, you'll know who Walt is. I introduced Walt to him. I ran into my wife's ex-husband, Jack. We sat there and talked shit over the phone. I met him. I met my wife through her ex-husband. My wife and my ex-girlfriend. My ex-girlfriend was cheating on me, and my wife's husband was cheating on her. That's how we met. That's how I met my wife, through a girlfriend I had that was cheating on me with her husband. So I met Walt through the girl Becky, the crazy bitch girlfriend.
Take the next right onto Govan Road.
That was my wife's friend at the time, until she wound up screwing her too. I think this was a good one for you. Shit, I'm trying to find out where the hell I am. I'm way deep.
In half a mile, turn right onto Bannister Road, State Route 369 Con.
I'm in Cummings, Georgia. I gotta get off the phone. Thanks, guys. Stay ADD.